Welcome to the Thriving Artist Podcast, where we share strategies and support for artists to thrive.
We know that the art world can feel like a lonely place, and we want to provide a network of support, impactful strategies, and an abundance of encouragement to help you grow your authentic art career.
We're your hosts. I'm Jamie Smith.
And I'm Kaylan Butine, and we are also the co-founders of the Thrive Together Network, a community of female and non-binary identifying artists and artists who are caregivers.
We truly believe in community over competition, and we're so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Artists Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Smith, and I am an artist living in Vancouver, Canada.
And I'm your other host, Kaylan Butine, and I'm an artist living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is in the United States.
We have a great little episode for you. Right now, we have a lot of art shows happening all over the world. So our network, the Thrive Together Network, we've encouraged members in the month of May to put on their own art shows in their own communities. So it's pretty exciting because this has become a global initiative. And so there are over 100 shows happening in the month of May, which we're very excited about.
Yes, it's so cool to see all this energy happening this spring. And Taking Up Space was an initiative that we started because we know that women artists are still very underrepresented, right, in exhibition spaces and in their art actually taking up space on walls out in the world. And so we wanted to empower our artists to just do it yourself, right, to put on your own art show and to build that momentum for yourself. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for an art show that's part of the Taking Up Space initiative that might be happening in your local area, and go find some of our TTN artists to support, please.
Kaylan and I both really believe in attending art shows and showing up for your community, not just in the month of May every year, but we know that sometimes it can be a little awkward of, how do we show up as an artist? We're building our own art careers and we can support others, but, sometimes it's a little bit awkward to go to these spaces. So we thought we'd put together a quick episode of kind of the do's and do nots when you are attending art shows.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of advice out there, and I think artists feel a lot of pressure on how, going to art shows, it's like your one chance to get your own show. And there's kind of like all this unspoken rules around going to exhibitions. So we wanted to just make this super simple for you, give you some quick tips. Jamie, why don't we start with some big do's, some of the things that we do want our artists to do when they show up to art shows?
So our tip number one of what you want to do is to actually sign in. So often at galleries, there will be a comment book or a sign-in book, and often a newsletter list for the gallery and for the artist. So we highly recommend taking that time to leave your name, your Instagram handle, and your email, because that is a way that later on, if, the gallerist wants to remember who you were, to go on there, it's a place for your name to come up. It seems like a small detail. It's easy to forget and think, why bother? But again, it's sort of this record that you did attend and you were there, which is really important.
Yes, I love that. And I think, signing the guest book for the artist, but asking the gallerist if they have a newsletter list, if it's not kind of right out and visible, is just such a good tip to just make sure you're always kind of putting your name wherever people are going to be looking for names, right? You want your name to be there. So the biggest kind of tip or do that comes to my mind is to actually help promote and share about the show. I recently had a show, and some of my friends, some of the people I knew who were in the area where I was going to have the exhibition, were posting about the show. They were sharing about it in their stories. And it, just made me feel so supported and so excited. And of course, it kept those artists like right in my mind as people who are extra generous and who are artists that I want to connect with and work with. I think bonus points too, if you're actually helping promote the show before it happens. Like if you have an art show in your area coming up next weekend and you're going to attend, just give a little post, tag the gallery, tag the artist, and say, anybody want to meet me here at this exhibition opening, or is anybody else going? We'll see you there. Can't wait for this show, right? It just like helps add to that buzz that the artist and the gallerist is working hard to grow, right? So they're going to feel like extra appreciated and extra appreciative of you as you're helping share. And I think, of course, not only promoting it beforehand, but when you're there, right, just kind of tagging the artist in the stories and saying, maybe posting your favorite piece from the show, just using that little big tool of social media to give some free support to those artists, I think is really, really beneficial. A quick, easy win for everybody.
I know that I remember the people that do that for me for sure
Yes.
around that time, because you're working so hard on your own to make it happen. And when someone else does it, it feels way more powerful. And also, I feel less nervous going to my own opening when I think, okay, well, at least this person shared and they're coming. So
yes,
when
absolutely.
you're doing that, don't forget to tag the gallery, because that is a great way to, again, get your name popping up in the right places and showing that support and for them to appreciate you as well. So
Yes.
number 3 are do when you go to an art gallery opening, an artist show, is to attend the artist talk. So often at a gallery opening, there might be a small artist talk at the beginning or even on a separate day. And we highly recommend that you make the time to go there. This is kind of this intimate time to be able to get to know actually the artist, but also they typically will introduce the gallerist and they'll kind of, give an intro of how they kind of got their work there. So again, it's a place where you can learn and kind of know how this is all going to look. And then it also is a place where your presence can be known, which is really important. I know for me, with being an artist in Vancouver, it's quite a big city. It's like often I don't know every single space where art shows happen.
Yeah.
And so by going to the artist talk and making time, I learn a lot about what spaces are available and kind of what work they show. It's sort of this research that sometimes it can be hard to know online, just, to Google art spaces, because you want to make sure your work's a fit. And so taking this time to show up for another artist is also a great research time for you.
Well, and an artist talk is a place where you want bodies in the seats, right? The artist and the gallerist want to make sure that people are going to show up. And so you're actually helping them out. So they're going to, be thankful. You showed up, you gave them that support. My 4th do is very related to this. I think it's so important to have a thoughtful question that you can ask the artist and or the gallerist about the work or the experience of the show. Obviously, the best time to do this is at that artist talk setting where it is a place, an event set up for discussion, right? Usually at the end, there is a Q&A section where they open it to the audience and they allow you to ask a question or two. I even went ahead and did a little extra work for you, and I'm going to give you 3 easy questions you can ask, because sometimes in the moment we get a little flustered and, we don't know what to say. So, you can write these on a little note card and keep them in your wallet or something. But here's 3 quick questions you could ask. Number 1, ask the artist what their favorite piece in the show is. I actually get asked this question often at my shows, and I love this question. I think it helps you feel confident as the artist because you're pulling out and noticing that favorite piece and you get to kind of talk about it. A second question you could ask an artist is who some of their influences are, right? So kind of giving them to provide a little more context in some of the other artists that they're looking at when they're making their work. And then a question that I love, number 3, is asking the artist what a day in their studio looks like, just for them to give a quick overview of kind of what they do in the studio. A little bit more about their process is always a fun one to answer. So asking a good question can just let the artist know that you're really interested in their work. It helps them feel supported. But what it does for you is it gives you that visibility, right? You're making yourself known and you're building that trust by contributing to the conversation in a meaningful way. And the artist and the gallerist is going to appreciate that.
I think having questions like this ready to go is great. Even if there's no artist talk, it's
Hmm.
really useful at an opening to have something like this to go and ask the artist or the gallerist. I know as being the artist, it's often hard to answer the same questions over and over again. And so when someone has sort of a thoughtful question to ask me, it's really appreciative because then I can tell the stories I want to tell in a unique way. So I think it's just important to have these in your back pocket. So those are great questions.
Okay, let's talk about some of the things we do not recommend. What are some of our big don'ts for attending art shows, Jamie?
Well, so our number 5 on our list, what you don't want to do, but I think it's our number 1 thing to
Yeah.
recommend is don't at this opening ask for your own show.
Oh,
So
it's just, I
it
like
can be tempting.
bumper sticker. Let's make bumper stickers, right?
Yes. But, we have encouraged you to show up and do research and kind of, your networking so we understand, we're asking you to do all the steps, but what we're not asking you to do is go right out and ask that of either the artist or the gallerist.
Yes, absolutely. It's just not very tactful. It doesn't, help the artist feel supported. I actually had this happen to me at one of my openings. Another artist that I didn't even really know very well, just kind of came up to me and was like, "How'd you get your show here? I would love if you could help me get an exhibition here," kind of thing. And I don't know, it's just really frustrating because you feel like they're not there to support you, and they're literally only there to get their own show, which doesn't feel that great in the moment when you're trying to stay focused on, being present for your own exhibition. And I think it doesn't feel authentic, right? It feels like very transactional, and not very generous. So don't ask the artist for their own or to help you get a show there. And definitely don't ask the gallery owner for a show there when you're at an opening for another artist. It's just really awkward. A big one that comes up for me, our number 6 tip is don't go to the show expecting an outcome for yourself. And this is very tied to what we just said, but I think even kind of going with the idea that, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do XYZ. I'm going to, kind of pull out all the stops and get this thing for myself. It can just take away from the moment. It can take away from the experience of actually being excited about the art, being able to plug into your community, because kind of all you're thinking about is what you want to get out of it, right? We really want to encourage you that this part of being an artist, showing up for others, is about building relationships and building trust, right? It's about making yourself visible to your community, but you want to do that over time, establishing yourself as a reliable artist and somebody who is supportive and generous and who other people want to work with, right? So definitely be patient and build some trust, build those connections, without just kind of immediately expecting results for yourself when you go to openings.
I think too, we spend so much time focused on our own work and our own
Mhm.
practice and how we're getting the work out there. And sometimes it's like go to an opening and just take a break. Like just
Yeah, just enjoy
enjoy
it.
someone else doing something and really be there and be present because our number 7 tip of what you don't want to do, but you don't want to forget to follow up.
Hmm.
So go to that opening, be present on the night, show up not thinking anything, was going to come to you. But then we really encourage you is don't forget to actually follow up. That's kind
Yep.
of the gold here. So you're more than welcome to send a note or an email or a postcard to the artist and the gallerist and just thank them for what you loved about the show. And, if
Hmm.
you can, and again, we want to be authentic and really
Right.
like the show. But if you can recount, this piece really moved me in this way, all of that goes a long way and makes you really stand out. It also builds trust and shows that you follow through. So enjoy being there,
Yeah.
be there. We want to give to get. And probably in
Yes.
the arts, we need to give and give and give and give, and then we get. But especially when it comes to other artists, just showing up for them is so important.
Yeah, and I just want to say too that if you're an artist listening to this and going to gallery shows is hard for you, maybe you are a parent and, you've got a lot on your plate, you have other jobs, just that scheduling is tricky. We don't want you to beat yourself up if you can't make it to every opening. Just do what you can. But we do think showing up to openings is a great strategy for building trust, for making connections in your own art community, which will hopefully help your art career. But just remember, it's okay to take it slow. Good things really take time to build, and your art career is a good and special thing.
And you can really use some of these tips just even on social media, reaching out or reposting, even if you can't make it. It's an easy post to say, this show is happening this weekend. I can't make it, but please go. Like that says a lot right there. So, if you feel like you can't physically show up, that's totally fine. There's ways to connect and support through promotion, which I know, as someone, when you're trying to do an opening, it really helps. It goes a long way with that kind of support. So we really love sharing this episode with you. We hope that you can keep these do's and don'ts in your mind as you're out there attending shows, maybe for taking up space, but also just in general. We think it's a great practice as artists to do, once a month, once a week. Showing up for others is going to only benefit our souls as well as hopefully maybe our art careers.
Absolutely. As always, Jamie and I are here for you. We're cheering you on, and we definitely believe in the work you're doing to be thriving artists.